In 2018, I was studying in Amsterdam in a business administration program, researching marketplaces and e-commerce from every angle, from a scientific perspective. I was even reading serious journals like the Harvard Business Review, and back then, almost 10 years ago, everyone was certain that Amazon would soon flood every category with its own private labels. Let me explain what that means. Amazon really does have all the deep analytics on products. And even what's more interesting, they have access to supplier contacts. So Amazon sees perfectly well which products are selling, in which categories which products have good ratings and low returns, and they can even request information about the supplier at any moment. Indeed, back then, Amazon Global Logistics didn't exist yet. With Amazon Global Logistics, I basically tell them directly who my supplier is. But back then, supplier information was considered to be somewhat secret information. And sometimes in my account, I'd get requests from Amazon, requests for data disclosure, because, I don't know, some policies had to be met and supplier data had to be disclosed. And of course, all this created a well-founded fear that Amazon would learn just a bit more, watch a bit longer, and start creating its own private labels in all the main categories. Then indeed, you could see how year after year, the number of private labels in categories was only growing. That is where, and these private labels took first, second, and third place in categories, eating up a large share of sales. My master's thesis was about conducting in-depth interviews with sellers, mostly medium and large ones, but small ones too. So I interviewed sellers and asked, well, what are we going to do? And back then, the word co-opetition was very trendy. Meaning, yes, Amazon is on one hand our competitor, right? On the other hand, it's still a partner of sorts because without this platform, I wouldn't have any sales at all. So almost 10 years later, we see that indeed Amazon has made huge strides with its private labels. I checked, and almost 40% of revenue comes from sales of their own brands. About 22 to 25% of revenue comes from advertising profit. That is, from all sorts of clicks and promotion costs. How can I explain this? Well, my logic is simple. If you can make money from virtual clicks, then of course it's best to make money from them. On data, on API connections. Well, yeah, on user clicks, on some virtual things, items. It's always easier than building infrastructure, buying goods, dealing with defects, and so on. We saw that in the income structure, advertising revenue makes up a significant share for marketplaces. And now let's figure out what marketplace advertising is and how to learn to handle it. Let's imagine a situation. You launched a new product, it arrived at the Amazon warehouse, you gave out 30 units to Vine users, and they've even written some reviews already. And even the reviews are not bad. Sales aren't moving. And here PPC comes to our rescue, those 3 letters. And today we'll look in detail at what Amazon advertising is. What are the historical approaches to advertising? You can charge for impressions. And there we have those 3 letters, CPM, cost per mille. Historically, is the price per 1,000 impressions. This is the worst thing there can be. It's a thing that guarantees absolutely nothing. It just shows your ad to someone, charges you for it, and whether it leads to sales or not is completely unclear. Maybe it's bad, bot traffic, and no sales will happen at all. Yes, it's usually the cheapest way of interaction between the one who wants to advertise their product and the platform, but also the lowest converting one. The next type of advertising is precisely CPC. Cost per click, or on Amazon we call it PPC. Pay per click, it's the same thing. It's just that on Amazon these 3 letters stuck, PPC, pay per click. And the third type of advertising in these metrics is the most advanced. We often call it CPA, cost per action. This is when we only pay for a conversion. For example, a conversion happened. We promised to pay for each customer brought in, say, 10% of, let's say, the final cost of the product. Then we pay those 10% only when the conversion has occurred. But it's not that simple on Amazon. I'm unhappy with the fact that on Amazon there's no button, just make me a great CPA ad. So today we're going to figure out what PPC is. And even if you work with some companies that write automated software for PPC or agencies, you still need to know the basic concepts. In 2018, my team and I tried all the automations for PPC advertising that existed at that time. We didn't like them. We understood what they do and what their bugs and imperfections are. And then we decided to write our own software. For a long time, this software was private. Then, with the arrival of AI, we added a bunch of AI features and finally released this software to the public. The Nix AI is a tool for PPC advertising. So what is it exactly? The Nix AI is an ACOS-based tool. For instance, you might want a 12% ACOS for one product and a 30% ACOS for another, and that's it. This tool does all the work while you just monitor that the ACOS is being maintained. It handles campaign creation, generation, and relevance checks with built-in AI, plus image recognition and many other features. It's a really great tool. There's a 14-day free trial, link in the description. Let me try to convince you a bit more why it's useful to understand advertising. Even though there are various solutions and you can outsource it completely, if you're talking to an agency or contractor and you ask the right questions, that agency will pay at least twice as much attention to your account because they know you know your stuff. Also very important for yourself because for small and medium brands, advertising is crucial. For example, with our brands, which are quite established, we have over 2,000 reviews per product and good ratings. So you'd think this historical data and these ratings would drive sales on their own, but no. In our case, it's 50-50. 50% of all sales come from advertising. The other 50% are organic. So you really can't do without advertising. Let's look at the three main types of advertising: sponsored products, sponsored brands, and sponsored display. What are sponsored products? This is the most fundamental type of advertising. It's the type of ad where you promote a specific product, not a brand, not your Amazon store, nothing but a specific product. Sponsored display is a great tool for retargeting. This type of advertising is shown on competitors' listings and also outside of Amazon. This is how we try to catch up with our customer and remind them what is retargeting. You looked, you left, come back and take another look. Works in two ways. First, Amazon looks for a lookalike audience. There's contextual targeting, and Amazon will show your ad in context. For instance, if someone is searching for an iPhone, contextual targeting. And the third type of advertising is sponsored brands. We still prefer the first type of advertising, sponsored products, because sponsored products leads to sales the most. And all the other tools are geared towards brand awareness. It's very important to know what ACOS is. Remember this: advertising cost of sales. What does that mean? If you sell a product for $100 and are willing to spend $10 on acquisition, then your advertising cost of sales is 10 divided by 110%. What's our typical ACOS? Everything here is individual. It depends on the category and how well the listing is optimized, of course. But for example, clothing, their 45, 50, 60% is considered the norm. The situation is even more interesting if you're subscription-based, right? Let's say the average expectation of how long a person will use your product is 6 months. It gets even more interesting there. In total, in your case, a 200%, 300% ACOS makes sense. Now let's move on to more down-to-earth matters. We trade in very low-margin categories like kitchenware. A great ACOS for us is 15%, a worse ACOS is 20%. So here are some rough benchmarks: 15 to 25 for regular goods, 40 to 55, and 200 to 300% if you're subscription-based, and for example, you expect the person to stay with you for at least a year. So if you spent $10 and got $100 from ads, then in this case, your ACOS is 10%. And TACOS is when you compare advertising costs with total revenue. So your TACOS is 5%. In our case, TACOS is almost always twice as low as ACOS. So ACOS, for example, is 10%, and TACOS in our case is 5. Or if ACOS is 15 to 20, then TACOS is 7.5 to 10. But I'm warning you right now, many agencies play around with these concepts. They say, your TACOS is fantastic. For the market in your category, everything is just great, 20 to 25%. And the client doesn't always understand what TACOS is, what ACOS is. ACOS can be just very high, over 50%, but they blur it out, don't show it, and only appeal to TACOS. But the quality of a PPC contractor's work, a PPC manager at an ad agency, it's characterized specifically by ACOS. And whenever an ad agency says your TACOS is good, everything's great, you ask, but what's the ACOS? Because maybe you really do have a lot of organic sales and it's not entirely their credit. Always pay attention to ACOS. What is broad match? It's the trashiest way to advertise, but also the cheapest. So Amazon interprets these keywords you wrote as broadly as possible, expanding them however it likes. Bids on broad should always be extremely low. Be careful. Phrase match is when your phrase that you specified, like stainless pot, stays exactly the same, but any other phrases or words can be added before or after these words. Exactly as you wrote the phrase stainless pot, 7 liters, right? That's how Amazon will match traffic for you according to this query. And this will be the highest converting traffic, but also the most expensive. There's a term called keyword funnel or discovery to exact. What does that mean? You run auto campaigns, you run broad match campaigns, and you take a look at the search term report. As soon as you realize that, okay, these words, these phrases, they are useful and converting for me, move them to an exact match campaign and raise the bids on them. The main algorithm for how to proceed. If you see that some words are bringing in a large number of clicks without sales, add them to negative exact. Let's take a look at product targeting. This is when you target competitors instead of keywords. The first way is to look at your top category, a very important step. I recommend that you target poor competitors. If a competitor has a higher price, worse reviews, bad photos, then this is a great way to target that specific competitor. Because, for example, ironing boards, right? They can be 20 euros or they can be 75 euros. And ironing boards for 75 euros show they just don't convert. Different people are interested in these products. Let's look at the names of the placements. The first one is top of search. Will be ads, and top of search is the highest converting and most expensive spot, because if you're relevant for that query, then yes, the conversion will be the highest. That's a competitor's page where we're more likely to distract the customer with our ad offer. The customer clicked somewhere, is studying an offer, and then they see various other ad offers. The conversion rate is lower there, but clicks are cheaper too. What does placement multipliers mean? For top of search, you should raise bids, and for product page, you should lower bids. And there's also an advanced feature called Dayparting. What is it exactly? It's the ability to raise or lower bids by the hour throughout the day. Coffee capsules sell very well in the early morning hours. People run out of their favorite capsules. And in the morning at 7 a.m., they go on Amazon and buy these capsules. Not all products have such distinct peaks. There's a big peak in the evenings, but keep in mind, if an agency tells you, yes, Dayparting, we use it, everything's great, it's actually not that simple. At night, there are more bots and more junk traffic of various kinds. The most we see on our end is that you should probably dial back your bids at night, increase them during the day, and maybe there's a noticeable peak from around 6 p.m. to 9 or 10 p.m. That peak also needs to be handled somehow. Finely tune this by the hour, until you have a really massive brand with thousands of sales every single hour. I think until that point, you won't be able to set up Dayparting perfectly. Let's wrap things up. Of course, advertising sales always drive organic sales. So while it might be possible to exist without advertising sales, what's the point? Let me know what your ACOS is. I'm really interested in comparing notes with other colleagues in the market. Have great sales. Bye-bye.